Let's shatter the biggest myth right now. The B-17 Flying Fortress wasn't a fortress. It was a death trap that killed more American airmen than any other aircraft in history. 26,000 Americans died in B-17s over Europe. That's more than all Marine casualties in the Pacific. The beautiful bomber that Hollywood loves was actually America's most catastrophic combat aircraft. Boeing promised a flying fortress that could defend itself. The reality? B-17s had 13 50-caliber machine guns and couldn't stop a single determined fighter. The Luftwaffe developed the head-on attack specifically because the B-17's nose had no armor and only 2 forward guns. Closing speed, 600 miles per hour. Time to aim, 2 seconds. Result, the pilots died first, every time. Here's the brutal mathematics. In 1943, your chances of completing a 25-mission tour in a B-17 were 27%. Not 70, 27. The 8th Air Force calculated they were losing crews faster than America could train them. Life expectancy for a B-17 crew, 11 missions. Most didn't survive 2 months. But here's where it gets interesting. The fortress part was a complete lie. The B-17's defensive guns had a critical flaw. They couldn't concentrate fire. Each gunner covered his own zone. When 20 Focke-Wulf 190s attacked from one direction, only 3 gunners could respond. The other 10 guns were useless. German pilots learned to attack in waves from the same angle, overwhelming the few guns that could bear. A Luftwaffe pilot captured in 1944 revealed, "We weren't afraid of B-17 gunners. At 300 meters, their accuracy was 12%. We'd put 20 fighters on 1 bomber. It would be dead in 30 seconds. Now let's talk about what really killed B-17 crews, flak. Those black puffs in every war movie? Each burst through 1,500 steel fragments in a 20-yard sphere. The Germans fired 16,000 flak shells per bomber destroyed. Sounds inefficient? They shot down 4,000 B-17s with flak alone. At 25,000 feet, you flew through boxes of steel fragments for 20 minutes over every target. The numbers are staggering. On October 14, 1943, Black Thursday, 60 B-17s were shot down in one mission. 600 men gone in 3 hours. 15% loss rate. Any mission losing over 10% was considered a disaster. They flew anyway. The next mission lost another 26 bombers. But perhaps the cruelest aspect was the temperature. At operational altitude, it was minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Machine guns froze. Oxygen systems failed. Touch metal with bare skin and lose that skin. Ball turret gunners couldn't wear parachutes. No room. If the turret jammed, they died in a plexiglass bubble. One belly landing meant crushing the ball turret gunner. Crews heard them screaming until impact. Here's what Boeing never advertised. The B-17 was actually incredibly fragile. One 20mm cannon shell could destroy an engine. 2 could cut off a wing. The Tokyo tanks, self-sealing fuel tanks in the wings, didn't seal when hit by cannon shells. They exploded. Crews had 17 seconds to bail out once fuel ignited. In the bomber stream formation, you couldn't bail out without hitting another B-17. The most horrific statistic? When a B-17 exploded from a direct flak hit, the crew wasn't killed by the explosion. They were thrown out alive. Multiple fighter pilots reported seeing American airmen falling 25,000 feet without parachutes, conscious all the way down. 4 minutes to impact. 4 minutes of falling. A B-17 radio operator's diary found after his death. Watched Thompson's crew fall past us today. No chutes. Could see them trying to swim in the air. 4 minutes later, they hit France. Let's destroy the final myth. Precision bombing. The Norden bomb sight was supposed to enable pickle barrel accuracy. Reality? Only 16% of bombs fell within 1,000 feet of targets. The average B-17 dropped 48 bombs per mission. 8 might damage the target. 40 hit civilian areas. The Strategic Bombing Survey found German war production increased during the heaviest bombing period. But here's the darkest truth. The B-17 was chosen over better designs because it was already in production. The B-24 Liberator carried more bombs farther with fewer crew. The British Lancaster carried twice the bomb load. But Boeing had factories running. Politics and profits determined that 26,000 Americans would die in an inferior aircraft. General Curtis LeMay admitted after the war, "We knew the B-17 couldn't defend itself by late 1942. We kept sending them anyway because we had no alternative. Those kids died to keep production lines running." The final bitter number: 12,700 B-17s were built. 4,735 were destroyed in combat. Each one carried 10 boys who believed they were flying in a fortress. They were actually flying in aluminum coffins, burning at 25,000 feet. The flying fortress wasn't a fortress. It was a beautiful lie that killed more Americans than Pearl Harbor, D-Day, and Iwo Jima combined.